to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Lisa Shield. Lisa is a love, dating, and relationship coach with over 2 decades of experience. She has a master's degree in spiritual psychology, is certified through the Coaches Training Institute, and has been featured in Huffington Post, Buzzfeed, LA Times, and Cosmopolitan. Lisa has been with the Guardian of her Soul for over 20 years, and through her revolutionary approach has taught powerful, successful women all over the world how to take what she calls the feminine lead to get emotionally naked and find the soulmate of their wildest dreams. Well, Lisa Shield, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
I am great, William. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really appreciate it. We got a great topic, how taking the feminine lead can help you attract the right man. So first of all, Lisa, how did you get here to today? What was that journey like to become a coach, a podcast host? What was that journey like for you?
So, what a great question to start with. You know, it's hard to know how far back to go, but I would have never dreamed my calling ever in a million years would I have thought that. But if I look back over the course of my life and I think about the central theme, it was love. It was finding love. And in any given moment of any day, if you had ever asked me what was the most important thing, I would have said to you, love. And my parents hated each other. They did
Oh,
not have a
geez.
good marriage.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really hell growing up in an environment. You know, we were upper middle class. I had a lot of privilege. It wasn't like we were struggling or starving or any of those things, but I was starving for love. And it was painful to watch my parents treating each other the way they did. And I believe that some part of me, even as a child, said, this isn't how it should be. Something is seriously wrong here. So, of course, like everybody, I had terrible relationships. I, of course, replicated some of what my parents did. And eventually, when I left my second husband, I said, no more. I don't have another 13 years to waste
Right.
trying to figure this out in the wrong relationship. And I discovered Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the Four Agreements.
Yeah, great
I
book.
was
Great
living
book.
extraordinary. He had not written this book when I met him. I was living at the time in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which I came back to. I left. I was here for 3 years, and Miguel was teaching here, and he was really in the very beginnings of his career as a shaman and spiritual teacher. And it was a magical time. I just happened to be at the right place and the right time with the right people. And it really transformed my life. He, like I said, he hadn't written the Four Agreements, but I learned so much in those years working with Miguel, being a student. And I think I learned the right things. I also did traditional therapy and many
Right.
other personal growth programs along the way, William. But there came a point, and this is really the turning point. There are many turning points in my story, but one major turning point was when I was about to turn 40. I was living in Los Angeles, California, and I was single. And I thought, oh my God, this is my worst nightmare.
Right.
I am going to be single and dating in LA and competing with some of the most stunningly beautiful women on the planet. And I don't put myself down, believe me, but I'm also a realist. I'm not a supermodel. I don't live at the gym. I'm not drinking, I don't have my bottle of water in one hand and my bottle of kombucha in the other. It's not who I am, and I thought, if I'm going to do this, I have to really stop doing all of this generic self-help work, personal growth work, and I need to start walking straight towards the goal, which was love, partnership. The internet dating was new. It was in its infancy. I posted my first profile and one picture, one photo, not even from the waist down. It was really just a portrait.
Right.
And of me laughing against an orange wall. I didn't even realize men would want to see me from the neck down. Just to
Right,
make
right,
sure,
right.
there were no rules. Nobody had done this. And so I went on 96 first dates in 2 years.
Wow.
I was in the middle of getting my master's degree in spiritual psychology. I wound up going on a date with the finest man I've ever met in my entire life. And it turns out he had written one of the books that we read for my spiritual psych class. It was called Handbook for the Heart.
Wow.
And Benjamin Shield became my future husband. We've been together for over 20 years. He is what I call the guardian of my soul. And 3 months into our relationship, he looked at me and he said, you should be a coach or a therapist. And I said, why? And he said, because this is all you talk about, personal transformation. And I thought, well, the only thing I've ever done in my life is solve this, right? I went from feeling completely lost, devastated, hopeless, to being one of the happiest, most satisfied women on the planet. And so the day I finished my master's degree, I started my coaching training, and I became one of the very first love coaches on the planet.
Wow, that's some journey. I mean, and I remember, and it's like John Lennon said of the Beatles, all you need is love. I've been there when everything is perfect, everything works. To me, the stresses are gone because you're coming home to someone that loves you as much as you love them. So, Lisa, do we see in this day and age, whether we go to millennials up to the past 40 or below 40, whatever you want to categorize the age differences, where women are more just rather be by themselves, focus on their career? Because today's topic is a good one, how taking the feminine lead can help you attract the right man. And it seems that some women are becoming, as they say, boss babes, and developing some masculine traits that some other men don't like. They want a woman that's feminine. It's hard, I guess, to turn it on and off. But in your journey, your coaching, your life experience, are women becoming they'd rather be boss babes than being in a relationship?
I think a lot of women, William, after all of the failures, all of the heartache, the abuse, the neglect, I think that they give up and they focus on the things that they can control in their lives. And so they focus on their careers. I want a man, but I don't need a man. They focus on raising their children. A lot of women have been abandoned and left single mothers to fend for themselves and to raise their kids pretty much on their own. And it's a heartbreak because I think women want this so badly. I don't think women are designed to be alone. I think nobody is really. I think that this is the most beautiful, precious part of life. But we give up and we build up walls and we tell ourselves that I don't need a man. But down deep, when we see other women being loved and cared for and having men trip over themselves to do wonderful things for them, it hurts our hearts. And we just come back with more defenses and more stories about how we don't need it. It would be nice. I would want a man, but I don't need a man. And I often say to my clients, if you were on a date and a man looked at you and said, I want a woman, but I don't need a woman. You would
Mm.
get up and you'd be like, okay, we're done here, right?
Yeah.
What woman would want to date a man who said that? And it's the same for men. What man wants to date a woman who says, oh yeah, I want a man, but I don't need a man. And I understand what they think they're saying. They're saying, I don't need a man to put a roof over my head or to put food on the table or to take care of me. I can do all of those things myself. But what a man is hearing is, where am I going to fit into her life? What can I do for her? If I have nothing to offer her and she doesn't want me to do the things that a man would do for a woman, this isn't going to work. So it's a sad, sad thing because women don't know how to be feminine. And I think just like we have to redefine masculinity today,
Mhm.
we need to redefine femininity.
Yeah, I definitely agree there because, when I started the podcast last year, I started hearing all these new terms, simps and boss babe and career woman and beta males, all these new terms. I'm like, what the hell? The famous words I hear now is body count of a woman. And I remember when I was growing up and in the 80s and 90s, that term wasn't thrown about. And I tell some of the guys, like, guys, she's gonna have a relationship before she met you. You gotta let that shit go about the body count. And especially when you get older, what you gonna do? Listen, I'm 60. I do not want to date a 22-year-old. No effing way. I can't.
Right.
And I just see that the dynamics of dating has changed. I mean, compared to when I was their age, like you just mentioned, focusing a career over a man. Hey, I don't need a man. I sure if he's there, fine, but no. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. So what are you seeing that can be done? Like, you came into this field to coach, to help people. How can women, especially a boss babe, get her feminine energy back? If that question made sense at all.
It makes sense. No, first of all, your rant was great. It was really good. Your tangent. And
Thank you.
no, and I love hearing from healthy men. I don't want to date a 22-year-old. I want to date a woman my age or close to my age who I can talk to, who has intelligence and depth. And, not that a 22-year-old can't have those things,
Sure,
but
sure.
who I can talk to, who we can relate because we have similar life experience and we're at a similar point in our lives. One of my big turning points, William, because I don't know that I would have called myself like a boss babe or whatever. Somebody else may have put that label on me. But I think, when my dad left my mom for another woman, and he left her with two very young children in the very beginnings of, the whole divorce era, where divorce was starting to happen more and more and more. And my mother was the first of all of the women, in her social set that was divorced. It was humiliating for her, devastating. And she said to me, don't ever let a man do to you what your father did to me. And as a little girl, I took that on. I said, well, I can do anything a man can do. And I did. That became my way of being. I realized, and I think these are very important things for your audience to hear. I looked at my life and I thought, I have never seen a woman interact with a man in the way that I would want to. What I saw were women playing games, being manipulative, putting on an act, but I never saw a single good example of the way I would want to interrelate to men, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
I saw the girls at school being a certain way and acting all girly and whatever. And I saw my mother and my grandmother and, the adult women behaving in ways that were a turnoff to me. And so this was my entry point. I looked out at this situation and I said, wait a minute, I am a woman. I'm not a man. And men are not relating to me, and I'm not relating to them in the way that I would like to.
Right.
My discovery of my own self as a woman was different than I think a lot of coaches are presenting this to women. And that's where I came up with the feminine lead. I was a woman who, really came of age in the 70s during the sexual revolution. Like you, we're very similar in age. I'm 61.
Right.
And so I was sexually liberated. I didn't have to make excuses for being, for being who I was, but it wasn't getting me what I wanted.
Right.
Men were not wanting relationships with me. They wanted sex with me, but not relationships. And I wanted a man who wanted to be with me. So I stopped and I looked out at this situation and I said, Lisa, who are you as a woman? What does it mean to you to be a woman? Not a little girl, not a sexual being, but a woman. And I started to, and I actually really got humble and real with myself. And I said, oh my God, you really know almost nothing about men, nothing. And I started to put myself in a man's shoes and look at women from a male perspective. And I started to ask myself, what are all the unattractive things women do that turn men off? We overprocess, we talk too much, right? We don't know how to give a man space. We don't know how to appreciate men. We don't see them for who they are. We don't value them. We don't have compassion for them. We project all of these limited beliefs on men, but we don't really see them for who they are, for how they want to be seen. So I started to really look at men and love them for the first time in my life. As I started to do this, William, it allowed men to open up to me, to be themselves with me. I invited that. I encouraged it. I didn't, roll my eyes when a man said, yeah, I love, I've been to porn clubs. I like to go with the guys and go to and go to a club and have some beers and hang out and whatever. I mean, it's what men do.
Right.
And I don't have to act like a little girl and get offended by male behavior. I want to be able to sit with a man and I want to be able to hear what it's like to be a man from men. And I think that many, many women, they have so many rules, they have so many fears. It's like, if I allow you to share your deepest male experience with me, somehow that's going to threaten me.
Right.
If I say to you, do you think my girlfriend's hot? And you're like, yeah, she's hot. I don't have to feel threatened by that. I can open up a space for you as a man to be able to say, yeah, your girlfriend's hot. And I can look at her and go, yeah, she is hot, isn't she? But that doesn't scare me as a woman because I know the value I bring to men. And so I wanted to create a space for men to be men with me, and where I could also bring my full self as a woman, and we can meet in the middle.
Yeah, no. I like the story. Well, the phrase that you said earlier when you said that some men will put you in a sex category, and even today when I talk to guys that are in their 20s and 30s, they do the same thing. If they see, especially now with social media, you look at Instagram. To me, I'm not a fan of online dating because most of the time the person that's behind that photo is ghosting, catfishing, whatever. So I'm definitely not into online dating. I don't believe in it. That's just me personal. But when you see some women that sexualize themselves, they're in panties or lingerie, guys are gonna think something different than when you see a woman in a full dress or at least a nice outfit. They're gonna say, "Wow, she looks classy. Oh, you know what? Let me DM her." I just think that how Instagram has influenced so many women now, because now, even, and you probably know this, Lisa, and we're talking with Lisa Shield. Today's topic is how taking the feminine lead can help you attract the right man. Um, they're getting all these DMs. They're shutting down the guys that are not making 100,000. Now I see, the criteria for some women to date men is like super high. Only a few men can reach that. Now all those same women are going after that same guy. So now he has options and he could exercise them if he wants, because he knows that 6, 7 girls are coming after him because he makes 100,000. He has status. Is that the new age that we are in now? Women setting the criteria so high that probably 75% of men can't fill that.
I think it goes both ways. I think men, idealize women, and
Oh no,
they're
definitely I
also
agree there. Yes, I definitely agree that
looking
the
for
men want
something,
something. Yes, I agree. Yeah.
and I think that women feel the pressure of, men are often prized for their wealth and their careers and, and all. And so men almost get more attractive as they age in some ways than, and women become in some ways less attractive, because no matter how much we achieve and how much we accomplish in our lives, we're still prized for our youth and beauty.
Yeah.
And so it is very difficult to get past all of that. And this is what we do in my 12-week program. We teach women a whole completely different approach to looking for a partner. Now, I'm going to push back on you for a minute. I will tell you that 90% of our clients, they're partners online, and they meet the most wonderful men. It is extraordinary to see how many truly great men and women are out there. Having said that, it is incredibly important to genuinely know what to look for in a partner and how to present yourself online. So here's what we do. I was a professional fashion photographer for 15 years. I lived in Milan. I worked for big magazines there. I know a lot about photography and images, and I understand men are visual and the photographs matter. Many women put up selfies, they're wearing hats and sunglasses and whatever.
I've seen that too.
We
Yeah.
make sure, and very sexualized photos. And we make sure I choose photographers I research the photographers in a woman's area. I send her the criteria for what we're looking for, and they have a professional photo shoot done. They mix their professional photos in with some other just snapshots and other pictures. It's not all professional photos. And the way we do it, William, these are not glamorized photos. They don't put on a bunch of makeup and hair. They're very natural and real. And these women look approachable and sensual, but not sexual. And then, and this is going to blow your mind, my amazingly talented husband, who has written 4 books, writes the online dating profiles for my clients.
Oh wow.
And they are game changers. Men, when I talk to the men who wind up with my clients, they will say, I fell in love with her when I read her profile. Now, Benjamin takes everything that this woman sends in. In the first month of my program, they don't date and they just focus on putting together the pieces of the past, what they've been doing wrong. They look at their whole history of relationships. They pull out all the repeating patterns. And then we have them do an exercise called their final five. Their final five, women listening to this are like, oh, now I'm going to go write my final five. I'm going to come up with the 5 things I have to have. No, you cannot come up with your final 5 unless you do that first month of my course. Right. Because these are not 5 things you pull out of thin air. There is a whole process I walk you through to come up with those final 5, and you have to do my process to get there. These are not things you pull out of thin air. They're based on your past. So we get them clear on what they need. They send their homework in to Benjamin, and Benjamin writes these profiles, and the men will say, I fell in love with her when I read that profile.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I'm still skeptical, but I'll be a little at least open-minded about that. And I appreciate that, what you said. First of all, Lisa, I want to thank you so much for being on People on Dating. My God, I had a great time. I could talk to you for like another 2 hours. And before I let you go, talk more about your 45-minute training that you have on your website.
I know we have so limited time. I never did define what the feminine lead is. So
I know.
Maybe we'll leave that as a cliffhanger.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2. Yeah, we'll definitely do a part 2. We could do that.
The
Yeah.
feminine lead is a very special term and that I created for modern women who don't want to date like girls and lean back and let men chase them, which is not a good idea. So I'd be happy to actually come back and talk about that on another episode.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we'll have a part 2. Definitely. I really appreciate that. So yeah, talk more about your 45-minute training.
Yes, I have a free training. If you go to my website, you will find the button there to sign up. It is called the 5 Essential Shifts I Give My High Achieving Female Clients to Attract an Extraordinary Life Partner, even if they've been struggling for years. Women tell me it's the best presentation of its kind. That alone will really change the way you date and look at dating. So please check it out. My website is lisashield.com. So you can also go there and learn a lot more about me and what I do and about my 12-week course. So yeah.
I'll definitely put that on the show notes and talk more about your podcast.
Oh, I do a podcast, and my podcast is called Finding the Guardian of Your Soul. This is an amazing podcast. We talk about love and dating and the search for a life partner in a way that nobody else does. And the best part about this podcast is that there are 2 different episodes. There's one that I do by myself, but we also have episodes with my husband, Benjamin, and me. And that particular part of the podcast is called Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. So that's also a wonderful, wonderful way to learn more about what we do.
No, definitely. Again, I'll put that in the show notes. And if somebody want to get in contact with you, tell us that website one more time.
lisashield.com. And by the way, William, if they stay to the end of the 45-minute presentation and they like what they hear, then there is an opportunity to book a free call with my team, and we will show them how we can help them find the guardian of their soul if they choose to work with us.
Oh, sounds good. First of all, again, Lisa, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We'll definitely have to have a part 2 because, like I said, I could talk to you for like another hour. And again, I appreciate you so much for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you, William. I'd love
Thank
to
you.
do it again.
No, definitely. Thank you. Bye-bye.